Here we go.
Blog Talk Radio.
Please be advised, the following program contains mature subject matter.
We curse a lot.
The views and opinions expressed on our shows do not represent the views or opinions of the show, affiliates, networks, hosts, or even society.
I'm the voice in your head.
With that in mind, if you are easily offended or pissed off, we suggest you try some soothing elevator music to please society.
And beat your head against a brick wall.
We are therefore not responsible for things that happen during the course of our shows, nor for bad dreams, voices, or things buried in your backyard.
Don't forget, storage locker number 14.
This show is rated R and for entertainment purposes only.
Okay, so I'm naked and holding a large butcher knife.
You have been warned.
Welcome, folks. This is the Crazy Nick Show for Wednesday, September 22nd, 2010. I am your host, Crazy Nick. Joining us online all the way from Cold Parts Unknown is our co-host, Feral Wolf.
What's going on, everyone?
I hope everyone had a very interesting week. We start our show with the last hour, or the last 2 hours of summer. Because at 11 p.m. tonight, folks, summer is officially over. Would you say you had a good summer, Farrell?
I would say so. It was pretty busy, had a lot of things going on, but it was a good summer. How about yourself?
It was pretty good. You know, went a little bit too fast at the end, but it happens.
Last summer for you.
Now, I just want to say, folks, Facebook has had some kind of issue going on today. I suggest everyone should comment and let them know. We tried to post our website, thecrazynickshow.weebly.com, and for some reason Facebook now has it listed as offensive or spam. For some reason whatsoever, I have no idea. So now when you post that link, it says, do you want to notify them? I suggest people should start saying yes and then automatically tell them what they were trying to connect to. I did that. Apparently, there's some type of an issue. I don't know what it is. Facebook has been doing a lot of changes they haven't been telling the public about. Now, you could still listen to us on thecrazynickshow.weebly.com. We've done some changes to the site, which might not be apparent to some people, but we still have the chat room is live and it's open up on the site. If you click Listen Live, you see the new page where you have a video Ustream going, just as, you know, a little backup, a visual aid. But you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Right next to it is the Blog Talk Radio player, where you can click on and just listen to the broadcast, or you can participate in the chat. Now, if you want to participate in our chat room, like Fearcast Network, Guest 5869 and Philip R. are doing, you need a free account at Blog Talk Radio, and you can enter the chat room and participate. Of course, you could sit in the chat room and read what's going on without an account. It is your choice. Midway through the show, we will have the beautiful Debbie Rochon on the line. Midway during the interview with Debbie Rochon, we will be opening up the phone lines. This is Debbie's fourth or fifth, I'm not even sure, I lost count, of her return to us. And with all the filming she's been doing, we've been hard-pressed to get a hold of her for the past year. Debbie has put out more movies in 6 months than most A-list celebrities do in 5 years. Okay, wouldn't you agree, Farrell?
Oh, full-heartedly. I mean, the woman never sleeps. She's constantly on the run doing one project to the next.
Exactly. I don't know how she does it. Now, for those of you who aren't keeping track of some things, which I don't know why you wouldn't, if you're going to be up in a certain neck of the woods, up in Buffalo, New York, October 21st through 24th, folks, Buffalo's first Halloween festival has the Scream Queen herself, Debbie Rochon, will be there as the guest of honor as she inaugurates the proceedings. You excited about that, Farrell?
I'm actually very excited by it. In fact, I'm making an effort to actually show up to that particular convention. However, I will like to add the fact that I don't think it's the first horror convention that Buffalo's ever seen. In fact, I believe a few years ago, for a few years, there was one referred to as Rod & Jack's HorrorCon, based on a website, outlet, and store, Rod & Jack's. That actually was a very good convention. In fact, past guests included Deborah Shawn, Amy Best, Monique Beryl, and many others. And actually, they actually were really, really good conventions. This one, I think, is going to be right up there with it. And I believe not only is it their standard convention where it's meet and greet with some of the celebrities, but also I believe there's actually movie screenings going on, different vendors. And some of the movies that are going to be shown are very much, if you happen to be a fan of the independent cinema, they will be doing some original screenings as well.
Oh yeah, definitely something that's worthwhile. It's not, as you said, it's not the first horror convention there, but I guess this is bigger than Rotten Jack's.
Yes.
And it should be something great for you guys that are up in that area. Anyone who wants to go should go check it out. And if for some reason you miss it, don't despair, folks. Out in Salt Lake City, Utah, November 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th is the Salty Horror Film Festival and Convention. That is the next place you can catch Miss Debbie Rochon. And you don't want to miss it. Debbie has starred in such films as Helltown, The Gathering, Don't Look in the Basement, As Night Falls, Killer Hoo-Ha, Terror Talk, Alien Vengeance 2, Rogue Element, which is coming out now. It's in post-production, folks. Wonton Baby, also in post-production. You also have seen her on the Chainsaw Sally Show, Slime City Massacre, Satan Hates You, Bikini Bloodbath Christmas, Demon Divers, Fear Makers, Poltergeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. Debbie stars in just about every trauma film made. And you have to look close if you're not sure if she's in it, because, folks, she is. Bleed in 2002. Something to Scream About. Terror Firmer. And the list goes on, folks. She's been in over 200 films. Now I want to play a couple little audio clips really quick, just to familiarize those who, for some reason, have no clue who we're talking about this evening. And believe it or not, there are some who have no clue. Let's see.
For over 100 years, audiences of
I don't know if you guys can hear the audio in the chat.
transfixed with horror and intrigue. Come with us as we explore the women who have made audiences scream for more.
To be remembered in this business, you have to give good performances, you have to do outrageous things, and you have to wear outrageous prosthetics. You know, when you're younger and you have dreams and you
Now, how'd that audio come through? Did you guys hear it all right? Earl, did that audio come through the chat room okay? Farrell?
Yes, I would actually say, but then again, I'm also on Skype, so
Okay.
I'm actually just posted in the chat room.
Yes, let's make sure the audio has come through.
There's no reason to be doing this except for the creative payoff and the feedback from the fans. I'm grateful. Is there anything I should know about you?
One of our employees was murdered last week. He was leaving a party in Montebello and he was killed. But a friend believes his girlfriend was killed too that night.
Playing a murder club?
So we had level 1, basic shoplifting. Level 2, armed robbery. And then we had level 3.
You walked with someone?
That's how you become a member. Maddie, be good to the club. Because you never know when you're going to be fun to be such a man. Maddie, what did you do?
My daughter is a murderer.
I think we need to know. Is there anything else?
So you guys say it has a slight echo, like it's in a well. That's not good. But then, of course, you know, we're very used to having this issue. Make sure, though, if you're listening via the Weebly site, you don't have the video on the video player. That will also add to it. I just turned on the volume a little bit on the video player. So hopefully that shouldn't be too much of an issue on that end. You just let me know, guys, how you know, the audio will clear up as the interview starts. Regular talking, how's the regular talking sound, guys?
Well, on my end, the talking actually seems a little bit more clear than the other audio, but as you said, it might actually clear up.
Yeah, running a few different windows open, I know it does that on Skype, so that's why I'm trying to run as little as possible. There's a little more of Debbie.
Why should young actors consider doing more? What are the advantages and the opportunities?
Number one, there's a lot more work in the indie world. And when you're starting out, you want to be able to get work in fields that not everybody's going after. There's so many people who want to do, like, you know, the Julia Roberts route or the Brad Pitt route or something like that. And so I think there's more opportunities. So, especially with the technology nowadays, there's so many horror movies being made that there's more opportunities. So more filmmakers are trying to break into the mainstream with their horror movies. So there's just more work, number one.
All right. That was just a little bit there of Debbie. Now, I'll play this little promo here before we take Debbie's call. She should be calling in shortly.
This is your hot horror hostess, Miss Misery, with the latest and updates from her. Oh, sorry, I messed up. Let me start over. Sorry, Shady. Sorry, Nick. This is your hot horror hostess, Miss Misery, of the Last Doorway Show, bringing you the latest in horror news over here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Coming to you from Sacramento, the Sac Horror Sci-Fi Show, Saturday and Sunday, September 25th and 26th at the Scottish Rite Center in Sacramento. Go to www.sachorror.com for more details. With special guests Billy D. Williams, Jewel State, Derek Mears, Ed Gale, Kevin Sorbo, and many, many more, including yours truly, Miss Misery. That's right. Not to mention, Saturday night, I will also be throwing a zombie ball. So come on over and listen to some great bands, The Leftovers, The Deadlies, and Damn It. Plus, I will be having a 5-page sneak peek of my upcoming comic book, Miss Misery's A Haunting Desire. So get yours while you can. So remember, go to saxhorror.com for more details. And remember, I'll see you in your nightmares.
That's right, folks. Make sure you check out the horror convention with Miss Misery this coming weekend. As most of you know, Miss Misery is a good friend of ours. She's a big contributor of the show. Watch in the upcoming weeks as we get a lot more things from Miss Misery. And folks, I believe it is time. Hello, is this Debbie?
It certainly is. How are you?
Hello, Debbie, ladies and gentlemen. Debbie Rochon. I'm doing good, Debbie. It's great to finally get you on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
Hey, with your busy schedule, I know it's not easy.
Well, it's, it's never easy for anybody. Everybody's pretty busy trying to, make everything happen, but I just appreciate the invite. I really do.
There, that's always out there for you. Folks, the reigning, the one, the only, reigning scream queen herself, Miss Debbie Rochon.
That wasn't canned. No, that wasn't canned. That was real in my mind.
Everyone loves you, Debbie. Everyone loves you. So, God, where to begin? I mean, it's been at least a year since we've had you on the show.
Uh-huh. Yeah?
And as I was saying earlier, you've done more films basically within this past year as other mainstream actors, more than mainstream actors do in 5 years.
Yeah, probably. I would imagine so. But you have to understand something. You want to talk about mainstream actors. A lot of times they spend 4 to 6 months on one project, and a lot of times they spend 2 or 3 months, whether it's with a personal trainer that the film hires for them if they have to be, a master of kung fu or do sword fighting or anything that's specialty, or they have a dialect, there's some sort of dialect that they have to use in the film or other language. And so, that's why a lot of actors in that, multi-million-dollar world can spend 6 to 8 months on a project, and then of course they're paid great sums of money to travel the globe promoting it. So then it becomes at least 6 months to a year per project. So that's sort of the difference. We do the indie stuff, and you're given the script. You're very lucky if you have a couple of rehearsal days. You're lucky if you can go over your part with the director at length, even just by phone. And you just go in there and you just knock it out of the park the best you can, regardless of the circumstances. And that's it. Then you're off, and any promotion that you want to do is certainly to your benefit and the film's benefit, and you want to do it. But it's on your time, certainly, which is fine, but it's not, it's a whole different scene, I guess is what I'm saying. It's like a completely different scenario. So it's uncomparable, but, I really prefer working more. Although, there's nothing wrong with the mainstream stuff if you got like a really amazing director, visionary director. I certainly don't put that down. I don't put good material down. I don't put money down. So, I guess it all depends, We all do our thing the best we can.
Very true. Now, before we get into anything further, Deb, I know you're usually in Manhattan, so I don't know what the weather is like out here on Long Island. We just started getting a thunderstorm. So, God forbid we should get a power failure and the show goes out. You give us 5 minutes and you call back in so I can reboot everything.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
You've had problems before.
Does the show actually go out if there's a power failure?
Well, if where I live, if it goes out, I lose power on my street, so it knocks out the computers.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't gotten to a studio yet, so.
Is it that bad? Is the storm potentially that bad tonight?
I don't think so. It just started, and I only because I saw lightning. So I figured, let me just get that out there now in case, God forbid, anything happens.
Okay.
Because we had this before where something happened, and I felt really horrible about it.
Right. Well, don't worry because it won't happen, but I will certainly do that if it does. So no worries there.
Beautiful. Now, also on the phone is my co-host, Feral Wolf.
It's a great honor to talk with you again.
Hey,
yes, Feral Wolf.
Feral Wolf. Okay, I just want to make sure I have that right. Great to speak to you again as well.
Yeah. We were just talking actually about you being the guest of honor at Buffalo's horror convention in October.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about that. You know, Greg Lamberson is turned out to be a good friend, a good guy. He's just really amazing. I'm very, very pleased that everything's unfolded the way it has. You know, it wasn't just, you know, simply another job. It was an exceptional movie that I made with him. I'm extremely proud of it. I have a tattoo of it. So there you go. How often have I done that? Never. This is the only time. So
Wow.
I'm very, very, I was happy at that, you know, at that much. And, of course, I'm extremely, extremely honored to be, you know, the guest of honor at his first film festival. And, of course, you know, it's going to play just 2 weeks prior to that at the Erie Horror Film Fest as well. So it's getting some really nice play, and I couldn't be happier about it because it definitely deserves it. There's no doubt. And, of course, I'm talking about Slime City Massacre, sequel to his 1988 movie Slime City. So it's a very exciting time, and I find it interesting, too, because, you know, Frank Henenlotter just came out with Bad Biology after many years of not making movies. And I know Greg has been very, very busy, and he's made movies since Slime City, of course. But, you know, he's done a lot more writing. He's a novelist as well. And but, you know, really this is a sequel to a 1988 movie. So I just find it interesting that, you know, this particular crew of 80s cult film directors are coming out with new works right about the same time. And I think it's very cool, and it's very cool to be part of it.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because Farrell is up in that area, and I don't know who's more excited to meet you at that convention, him or his wife.
Well, I'll be excited to meet them both.
We actually had the brief opportunity back a few years ago when Ron and Jax had a convention. I believe it was 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of Slime City, a friend of the show, actually, speaking on behalf, wanted me to pass on a hello to you of Angelina Lee, one of the co-stars.
Angelina Lee? And who did she play in the movie?
Oh, I believe she was a woman of the night, if you will.
Oh, woman of the evening. Yes, they come to a certain demise. Not to give too much away, but you know, when you make a movie about murder and mayhem, you know, you gotta. It's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. So that's pretty cool. That's very cool.
Now, Debbie, since you know we try to keep everyone appraised of all these little films that you're doing, when you post them on Facebook, whenever you say you're shooting this film, what have you been working on lately? The last movie we knew of from you was Color of the Dark, and I know you've done a lot of movies since.
Yeah, and you know, some of them are bigger films, and some of them are little movies, and they really vary. There's a huge difference in budgets in the stuff that I've worked on, but I can honestly say, like, all amazingly unique. Like, I did a movie down in Texas, just like Slime City Massacre, you know, Walking Distance, which I did a while back now, is just, you know, finally gearing up. It's doing the festival thing itself as well, and it's gearing up for a release probably early 2011, I would imagine. I'm not sure on the details yet. But, you know, there's other movies that I did a very interesting role for brothers who made this movie called Sick Boy, about a zombie boy that the mother keeps in the basement because she is basically in denial over him being sick. You know, throughout the movie you think he's sick, and then he starts becoming more and more basically rabid, and then the husband gets sick from the son. And it's, all about this mother being in denial. Very unique take on the zombie theme, the zombie genre. So that's very cool. Did a movie, The Girl, out in Ohio, which had a lot of very cool people involved with as well. Travis made that movie, and he usually puts on conventions out there. A lot of stuff. She-Wolf Rising is playing at the film festivals now as well, and Gallery of Fear. I do the wraparound for that for Alan Rowe Kelly, who has 4 shorts that are each making tours and winning awards all over the place. So I'll be writing on the backs of all the talented people who won the awards for the actual shorts after doing the wraparound. So, but it's a fabulous role. I was very lucky to play like such a fantastic role in that particular anthology. And I just did a very, very cool role in Bart Mastrodoni's Telltale Heart. He's doing an anthology with directors each doing a short based on a Poe tale. And so the Poe tale, I did, of course, Telltale Heart. Difference is Alan Rowe Kelly plays the aging silent film star who's was this very glamorous woman, and is now, very old and has the eye problem, and I'm her personal nurse assistant. And it drives me crazy, and until I, can't take it and put her under the floorboards, and of course that drives me crazy. Doesn't give anything away because everybody knows the story, but in this case it's all in the execution. And it was really, and it took place in the 50s. We set it in the 1950s. So, I mean, there's some really amazingly high-quality stuff that's coming out, and, I've barely scratched the surface with this, with the updates. Of course, I did VH1 Scream Queens TV show not too long ago. I was on episode 4 of season 2 as a guest judge, and, I've just been real busy with some really fun things.
That's right. We mentioned that earlier. And for those of you who don't know, Debbie's page is www.debbierochon.com. And there's actually a clip on it from Scream Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see Debbie.
Easily findable just by going to debbierochon.com. There you go.
Exactly. I like the new site, Debbie. I have to say, I enjoy the new site. The other site was, small. It was hard to maneuver. This is a lot better.
Yeah. I have a very, very kind and generous webmaster who's been working with me for 10 years, and, he's just a friend of mine that does this for me. So, I always owe him huge kudos for doing it at all, and I'm very grateful to him and his time and talent, and as a matter of fact, I majorly owe him another update. I swear I'll get that to you tomorrow, Marcus. I swear to God. No, it's not. It's definitely on my to-do list because there are so many things, amazing things coming out. There's a book that just came out. I didn't write it, but it's called The Horror Movie Freak. And I had no idea. I had spoken to the author maybe quite a while ago, and just about pictures. Like I know he was sent a very, very sweet email, and he just was writing this book on horror, and he said, hey, maybe you have a couple of pictures. So I sent him a slew of them, and it was, like I said, like a long time ago. It takes a long time for a book to come out. And little did I know that this, lovely man turns around and he writes this really awesome book, like color glossy pages, like slick to the nines, horror book, beautiful coffee table book. It's got like a Night of the Living Dead movie in the back of it, like a DVD of the movie, even included in the back cover. Just quality, cool all the way. And so someone emails me, hey, you got to really go down to Barnes & Noble or Borders or wherever and check it out. And so I saw it, and it was like, wow, like he doesn't talk about any directors in particular. He just talks about great horror movies, and then he singles out like 4 women that he feels, should be singled out for various reasons. And it was Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, myself, and I'm trying to think of the 4th actress. It will come to me in a moment, but 4 actresses. Oh, I know, Dee Wallace, formerly known as Dee Wallace Stone. He was sort of going for archetypes. She's sort of like the mother type. Jamie Curtis was always the type, the sort of the virginal within the movies, and Adrienne Barbeau was always the sex pot, and I was always within their description. I was like the bad girl because I would always end up killing people. But it was an honor, I guess, is the point, and it was really, really cool. And the Phantom of the Movies, Joe Kane, just came out with a book called Night of the Living Dead, and it's just epic. It's a huge book, and it just chronicles all of the stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, about the making of Night of the Living Dead. And I've got a little section in there because I did a bit for the 30th anniversary, because it does go through like the remakes and the sequels. But it's so epic and in scope that if anybody is a fan of that movie, you're definitely going to want to pick up that book by Joe Kane, with a K. And it's Night of the Living Dead. I don't have it in front of me. There is a tagline, like the ultimate, something, but it's easy to find. I'll put it up on my page so people can find it easily. But it's another great book. So, yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff and stuff that I'm really grateful for happening right now. So, couldn't be happier, really.
Right. So, like I said, we've always, every time I would email you about trying to book you, it was, well, I'm flying out here today. I had to wait a week. I'm flying out here this week. I was like, doesn't she have a rest?
Well, you got to work really, really hard. I feel like MC Hammer, or you might as well quit. So anyway, I'm not going to do the lyrics to You Can't Touch This. No, I'm not. But the funny thing is, no, you really got to work. You got to work really hard, and you got to work relentlessly if you want to get things done. And, there's just so much I want to get done, that it really does drive me. It really does drive me that, I'm really, and there's a couple more movies, there's one that I did with a couple of members from Wonton Baby, a very cool movie I did a couple years ago, or maybe like a year and a half ago now, about this, it was sort of like a fetus in fetu, it's called, where a second fetus is attached to a brother or sister, and they grow up, and the fetus is still inside of them, but, it finally gets extracted when she's like 20-something years old, and it turns out to be this like evil carnivorous baby. Really great, throwback to, everything from Basket Case to Chucky to, everything like that. A great sort of character, evil baby character. Great fun movie. But I worked with Susie Lorraine and Lou Martini Jr. on another movie called Billy's Cult, which is as much a thriller as it is a horror movie. And I played like a psychotic cop, like one who does everything by the books, but ultimately, starts, shaking down her suspects in jail cells, which is in a very unorthodox way. It becomes very violent with them and basically becomes as psycho as they are in a certain, to a certain level. And so you just, I don't know, I guess the answer is only simply, and I'm writing the book, and I'm got my column in Fangoria magazine and everything, and I just, there's just so much you want to get done that you just gotta try to get it all done and that's really what motivates you, because there's just so much at this point that I have to say. Spent so many years trying to get to a point where you could work or write or, act and write and do everything that you like, that when you get to a point where you're able to do it, that you want to do, as much as possible if you're passionate about it. Like if I'm passionate about the material or what I'm writing or something like that, then I want to do it all.
Well, I definitely have to say, though, first I have to say congratulations on your article in Fangoria, because I know it's a recent thing for you. A lot of your fans are...
I've had like 5 columns in there at this point, so yeah, I mean it's pretty recent. It's pretty recent. We were doing the radio show for 4 years, and yeah, so my column's been in there for about 5 issues now.
Yes, I know. I noticed Fangoria Radio is on hiatus right now.
It's over.
It's over.
Yep. It's done. It's done. Yep. We did it for 4 years. It was put on hiatus a couple months back, and they just couldn't. It was a financial decision.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's that. It was a great 4-year run, and what might happen, I mean, it could get, started again at another point, but, times are really, let's face it, times are really difficult for businesses in this economy.
Yeah.
And, I have the column, and, when the time is right to bring it back, we will, and if it's not, then we won't. But, it was a pretty amazing 4 years. I mean, it was really my life. I had worked on it 5-6 days a week. It's pretty much all I did was, because I produced the show as well, along with Mike Castell, but, I produced the show, Tony Timpone. We worked on the show all week long. So it was, it was my life. So it was, very, very sad, but I'm just so busy doing other things that even though it's terribly sad because I don't get to communicate with the listeners that we had, which were so many, that, that part of it's sad. But there is so many things that's taken its place that, I certainly can't say I'm, sitting around, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear what you mean. I know what you mean. It was funny because, like I said, I went a few weeks ago. I was like, oh, let me go check out Fangoria Radio. I came back and I got, shows on hiatus. I was like, oh, okay. I figured, from all the shooting you were doing. And I turned around, I checked a few weeks later, and again, I was like, okay, this is awfully a long hiatus.
Well, I mean, I'm sure both you guys can understand the climate that we're living in right now.
Yes, exactly.
And, that's a show that is done on that scale is something that's, it can't be done for free, and it takes a lot of time, and, it takes, I wouldn't say a lot of money by any stretch, but it does take some, and, some decisions had to be made, and certainly you have to streamline and, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do, and it's certainly, whatever's going to help the brand name in the long run, I'm all for. I'm definitely all for. So, to me, to do something on that scale and to have I challenge anybody to throw out a name that we haven't had on the show, because we had everybody on the show.
Everybody, yeah, exactly.
Everybody. Every single body in the horror business that's a legend or that was alive during that period, or everybody, and just made some amazing friends, and wouldn't exchange 30 seconds of that 4 years for anything. So I couldn't be happier. So that's how I feel about it. And in radio, I've been in radio on and off for, a couple decades, really. so, that was probably one of the longer runs. A lot of shows, unless it goes really, really big or you're doing a news show, a lot of times they just go a couple of years. It's sort of a natural length of time, for something that's actually, people are getting salaries for, and it's, costs money to produce. It's very, very different than being able to do something, that doesn't have overhead like that and doesn't have that kind of pressure.
Now, does that mean we can look forward to maybe if Fangoria Weekend of Horrors comes back to New York, we might see a visit from Debbie Rochon? So in New York, there's to see you.
I don't know if there's not going to be any Fangoria Weekend of Horrors because they do not exist together anymore. Creation has Weekend of Horrors, and Fangoria is currently not doing conventions at the moment. What Fangoria is focusing on is the magazine. It's focusing on the movies that they have a special section in Blockbusters right now, and so they're acquiring movies, and they have a on-demand, I don't know if you would call it an on-demand channel or a video on-demand channel on TV as well, and so they're acquiring movies for that. So they're sort of going forward in those particular directions and not in directions that, may have a lot of output that's, a huge gamble like, say, a convention would be. So Creation has, they're carrying on with the Weekend of Horrors, but Fangoria, when they do another convention, it would just be called, Fangoria Convention. But that might not be for a while because they're focusing on the video on demand and the Blockbuster deal and the magazine and the website. So they've, like going back to economy, it's just, just a matter of like, okay, well, what's the best forward-thinking stuff that we could do right now? And that's what they've sort of streamlined it to.
Yeah, because I had read in another magazine, I think it was Horror Hound or something, they were talking about in October or November, a Fangoria Weekend of Horrors, and I was like, where the hell's New York? I said, I was like, I'll find out from Debbie, but it's good to know, though,
No, it's probably a mistake. Either they mistakenly wrote it, or maybe you just associated the name in your mind because it's just so normal to do that.
They must have printed the magazine beforehand, and maybe they got the thing that's withdrawn after they printed it.
Who knows? Who knows the situation? But it's definitely two different things. Now it's two different things. So, but I'm sure they'll do well because this is our time of year. This is our time of year to have fun and celebrate. It's certainly my favorite time of year, and with all the stuff going on, honest to God, I couldn't be happier. I just couldn't be happier. I just couldn't be more pleased. I'm in so many things that I'm proud of. I've done my share of like crap movies. I've done some good ones, but I've done my share of crap movies, and I just come to a point that I'm working with people I really, really like and respect, and that makes all the difference in the world. I mean, it's just you can really lay down some good stuff, and that's exciting, and my writing is just very important to me. So I'm enjoying the column, and it's really helping me fine-tune myself as I go along, continuing to write my book. I'm a very honest person. I tell it like it is. If this is no snow job, I couldn't be happier. It's a good time. It's a good time. It's not to say I don't have my bad days, I have a lot of bad days, but that's okay because overall I feel pleased, very pleased.
Now this column, the official name is Diary of the Dead. Am I mistaken?
No, that's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Now, with Halloween coming, Debbie, I don't think we've ever asked you this, but what's your favorite scary movie?
Well, it's tough to
really
say.
Frightening.
I've always really liked The Shining.
Shining?
Yeah, I have, because I think it's atmosphere. I mean, it's, definitely has violence and blood, but atmosphere scares me more than just, gross out gags. Like, when, the whole torture porn thing was popular, I was down with that. I enjoyed that a lot. I love Hostel. I love all the Saw movies. Oh, I love the Saw movies. I like the intellectual horror. I like it all. I really like it all. I like the comedy, Return of the Living Dead, just, Frank Henenlotter's movies. I love it, man. I really love it all. But, I think ultimately what's scary is atmosphere. And that's why The Exorcist is so cool because, even though, yeah, she's scary, her head turning around is scary, it's the atmosphere that the director and the actors created that made it so scary. And that's what goes on in The Shining that is so scary. And that's why people are responding. And these are not two of my favorite movies, but you have to look at the numbers at the box office. This is why Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity are so successful, is because what do they have? They have atmosphere. They have, there's not a lot of actual showing anything in either one of those movies that, were made for, say, $50,000 and made more than $50 million or $100 million each. And they, what were they, 10 years apart? It's very rare. It's not a common occurrence at all. So, but, what do they have going for them? Atmosphere. And so I think, and again, those two movies are not two of my favorite movies, but I acknowledge that the same thing that I love in a lot of horror movies exists in these movies that were so crazy successful, and that is atmosphere. And I find atmosphere more disturbing and scary, and that's why like a lot of the movies of the 70s, are so disturbing to me because it's the atmosphere.
Very true, very true. Now, what's your favorite movie? Whether it's one that that you've done, what's your favorite movie and your favorite memory that you've taken away from one of your movies?
It's really impossible to answer, and I don't say that from being politically correct, because everyone, there's something I learn in everyone, or there's friends I've made, or there's great art, meaning acting and learning from the director who's great. There's teaching. There could be moments where you're on a set and it's you and your partners grow and you feel like you're teaching. There's times when you feel like you're learning. There's, camaraderie. There's overall excitement, to get this done like it's a true ensemble. So, not to avoid the question, but it's really impossible for me to say, because I could say, Hellblock was a great experience. I worked with Gunnar Hansen for the first time of many times. That was great, and it was great fun, and I loved the director. And then I could say, American Nightmare was really important experience for me because basically almost all my scenes I completely improvised with the, director allowing me to do so. But, he allowed me to do that, so I'm grateful for that. But basically everything was written on paper. I either switched it up or it was just basically a generic sentence, and I just improvised everything. And it was that collaboration made that special. I'll go down the line. Color from the Dark is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous to watch, and it's by an Italian master. I had a very, very, intimately fun time making The Good Sisters, where, we did like a lot of great scenes, great work, and it was, very like a family atmosphere. I've done some, fun comedies with, Mike and Amy from Happy Cloud Pictures. I've done, the trauma stuff is like, elemental to who I am, because I just love that stuff. And everything kind of builds to the point of where you're at today, you know, and then like I already mentioned, the titles of the movies at the top of my segment here, not to, you know, beat them to the ground, but everything adds to everything, and then you just get to a point where you could start, you know, playing with the, quote, big boys, if you will. And then you find yourself working with some people who work in, you know, L.A. law all the time, like in the Billy's Cult movie. It was all like TV people. And, you know, you're right there, and you're, you know, you're right online with them. You're toe-to-toe with them, and everything goes extremely well and feels great. You feel very good. You feel challenged, but you feel good, and you feel on par, and it's satisfying. So I think it's a work in progress, and it's a very difficult answer to give, and I finally understand why people had a hard time answering me when I asked that question.
Nice. Now, you worked with a lot of different people. Who is, well, let's see. I know it's going to be hard for you to answer this, but who would you like to work with who you haven't worked with yet?
Well, that's easy because, you know, you've said that I haven't worked with yet. That's easy. You know, I would love to work with everybody. I mean, you know, I adore working with the people I've worked with, including Lloyd Kaufman. You know, I would like to continue to do that. But, you know, people I haven't worked with, I would, you know, say, you know, Frank Henenlotter makes another movie, I would love to be in it. If John Waters does, I would love to be in it. As far as, like, the cult stuff goes, that would be a fantasy. I would love to work with, you know, P.T. Anderson, or, you know, someone who's, like, so amazingly intellectually cool, and they're doing just, like, quality stuff that's considered mainstream, basically, but he's really taking big chances, you know, in his subject matter, and just giving people a lot of levels and just really expecting them to go along with him. And they do, because the audience will always rise to the occasion. You don't have to dumb it down. So, you know, yeah, there's a lot of people, you know, Cronenberg, of course, you know, that would be a no-brainer. Rob Zombie would be a thrill. You know, I think he's got a lot to say, and he's a very intelligent guy. And no matter what anybody says, anybody would love to. I don't care what anybody says, whether they liked Halloween, they didn't like Halloween. Who cares? The guy's like ridiculously, you know, dripping with talent. In my opinion, I love what he does. I love his style. I love the worlds that he creates so well. I like the chances that he takes, and I think anybody who had any honesty whatsoever